Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday and happy June. Welcome back to all the familiar faces. And if you are new here, we're very happy to have you. My name is Liana, and I'm the community manager here on our Educate team at Saros. Joined with me, I have Kristen, our head of customer success, and our special guest for today, Jersey, from Her Campus Media. Throughout our webinar, if anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat window or the Q&A, and we will answer them all at the end. But otherwise, I will pass it over to Kristen and Jersey to get started.
Amazing. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. This has been a labor of love and a very much long time coming. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and hopefully you can all see it. Hopefully. Jersey, you can see it because you're the
I can see it. I am nodding.
Amazing. I'm getting no confirmation because I just realized I can't see anyone but you. But yes, thank you all so much. Like I mentioned, this has been a long time coming. Originally, we were going to be doing this in Vail, but now today it's 90 degrees. We're not having après ski. We're probably going to be having Aperol spritzes after this. But today we're going to be talking about Her Campus Media's approach to Gen Z connections. And like Liana mentioned, we're recording today's call. We'll send over all of the assets after, and we'll have all of these experiences linked out in this presentation today. But for those of you who don't know me, I am Kristen Walsifer. I'm our head of customer success here at Saros, overseeing all of our publishing and media accounts with, my goodness, I've been at the company for 7 years now, but I've been in the pub and media space for about 15, which is crazy. And joining me is the lovely Jersey Babcock. Jersey, I'll give you the floor to introduce yourself.
Yes, we definitely had the deep media experience in common when we met.
Oh my goodness, we very much did. Very incestuous industry.
And we have a lot of people. I'm Jersey. Yes, I'm the VP of Brand and Product Innovation at Her Campus Media. And I've been, at Her Campus a little over a year, which is crazy in itself. But yes, deep media background, but on the starting in design and then more in product, and now even more of a hybrid role now, which is fun, but lets me I think see a lot and then experiment also with Saros in a lot of different ways. So there's a lot here.
I think that's been the really interesting thing with you coming on board is just the way that your team has really taken to that innovation and experimentation. Even looking, and Her Campus, for those of you who don't know, is a publisher focused specifically on females that are in college. So right now it is the Gen Z market that you're all marketing to, but you've been around for 15-ish years, 2000.
Yeah, it's going to be 16 years in September.
Yeah.
I know. And
crazy.
That's why it's so weird. Having only been there for a year, but there's so many people at Her Campus that are our lifers have really, been since the beginning, and there's so much change. And in the past year too, but before that as well, Her Campus has done a lot over a long period of time. And yeah, we started with millennials, Gen Z, and now we're kind of eyeing Gen Alpha, which is crazy.
So that's why innovation is always at the forefront of everything. And then for today's agenda, we're going to be really kind of distilling this down into 4 points. So creating authentic and engaging content is going to be where we start. How you've all experimented with those new formats. Like I mentioned, innovation has really taken off in the last year. You've all been working with us for 7 years, but I would say the kind of way that your design team has shifted and become so skilled in the type of content that they're creating has been amazing to see. And one really interesting thing that I think your team does exceptionally well is how you've found a way to blend editorial and branded content, and then ultimately kind of tying this all up in a nice little package of how you're leveraging that data for ultimate engagement. So how you're looking at how your audience is interacting with your content and ultimately creating a content plan off the back of that really you find ways to resonate because it is what it is that they're looking at and what they're interacting with. So to kind of take it from the top here, I think we all know Gen Z audiences really crave authenticity. I think they can really smell out when someone is being inauthentic, and cultural relevance. You need to stay ahead of the trends. And I'm really happy that we had your team recommend that song because we are millennials here. So can you share how your team has ensured that your content has felt organic and how you've stayed true to your voice while also remaining to have that kind of engaging element to it?
I mean, you talk also a lot about the last year, and it is a little bit of a coincidence that I joined. I mean, obviously I've helped shepherd it along, but something especially at the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, now that we're more than halfway through, it is June. I know. Is that I think the approach to her campus media's content in 2025 is really emphasizing that it's really handpicked and curated by Gen Z. There are a lot of millennials like myself, but it keeps me young for sure. And that we're really trying to highlight that we're at the forefront of what's current, what's relevant, all of that. And you're seeing an example here of the It List, which is actually our first tentpole, first big content moment of the year. It launched like first week of January, and it was really emblematic of what I think we're trying to do. And you'll see even more examples of this, that we're, we don't guess at what college kids, what Gen Z, what they want. We ask, right? Like this is all informed by our actual audience. It's not just millennial editors trying to guess. And you can see It List is like, it really covers everything. Like both this page, which is amazing, but also this project in general was like a beast, right? It was kind of the first of its kind, and like it's robust. You learn a lot.
You do learn a lot, yeah.
Right?
And I think, the interesting thing about this one to me is, for all intents and purposes, it kind of is like a listicle almost, but it doesn't feel like a BuzzFeed-esque style list. It's very much mood board focused, where at the end you have that really interesting CTA of creating your mood board, creating what is custom to your audience and what they want to see. So you're finding really fun ways to interact without it just being product. It's customize this mood board to what you like and what you want to see, and have that vision come to life.
We're really looking for ways to do that. I mean, in our content, and you'll see a million examples of that, but with the It List, like it's also shareable. There's something for everyone. It moves, it's fun. It's like there's so much information here, but you never feel overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
And you can pick and choose. My whole thing is always personalization. Like you can pick and choose what matters to you. And it's like, you don't care about wellness, which Gen Z definitely does. You don't care about wellness. You can skip over that part. Like you can really go interact with what you want to interact with. And yes, you can see at the end here, when we reach the little scrolling part, is that we wanted something actionable, right? And something to do with all of this information that you just ingested, and always looking for a way to tie together what's happening on social and what is happening on site. And so, you can see here really encouraging, like, everyone make their own mood boards. We said so much engagement with this, even though it's the last thing on a very long page. Really encouraging people to make it their own, and then some fun social stuff from our team to really tie it together of like what your mood board says about you. Mine definitely says that I was a tired mom, so I'm not the
and you love when it drags you like that. You're like, oh, great, I love that. One thing that I love that you mentioned, and it's something that we really try to drive home with a lot of our clients, is you don't want to hold your audience hostage. You want them to get information that's pertinent to them. I think one of the main KPIs that we've seen kind of shift from the forefront is time spent. Sometimes time spent doesn't mean that it is a good experience for the user. Sometimes they want to just get to that information and bounce and do what they need to do with it. And I think here, like you mentioned, you have kind of this long scroll piece of content that doesn't feel overwhelming, though there is a ton of information on it. And what resonated with your audience was actually at the bottom of the page. And it allowed for that kind of 360 type of media where you're having a social kind of moment and a viral moment to that piece, which is creating your mood board.
And we're experimenting with that too. Like it made sense for you to educate yourself on everything, like see what works for you, what doesn't, like just diving into those trends that mattered. But then, and so we wanted something at the end something to do with all of that information. But you can see in some of our other pieces, it's like, oh, well, maybe it actually makes more sense in the middle where we can experiment and play. Like we're very agile in that way, just like try, innovate. We want to try new things, and so does Gen Z, and that's why it's working.
And I think also having that gamification element to it as well plays so nicely into social and how you can tap into that market too.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not allowed to say the word gamification anymore because it's like my favorite thing. And it works, and like everyone knows I'm such a nerd about it. So but it really is something that works. Like people like that low lift satisfaction that you get from games and from winning and from trying new things. And you can do the gamification along with the personalization here, where I said it like empowers you to interact with what you actually care about. And on that, it's like we're really trying to dive into the trends that matter to the audience, with the it list being very covering a lot. But then what you can see on the screen here with getting down with Gen Z, it's really we drilled down on something that we knew was really important. The audience is shaping what we talked about. This is the first of like a lot of deep dives that we went into in 2025. And so this is really our deep dive into how Gen Z, how students, how our audience, because again, all of this is coming from our audience. We're not guessing how they're navigating relationships in 2025 with data visualizations and insights that are straight from the audience.
And I think that's the interesting thing here too. You're not reinventing the wheel in terms of type of content. It really is data viz at its core. And this one, like I mentioned, the one earlier is very much a listicle, but you're finding ways to make it different and make it feel like you're not overwhelmed by a very heavy topic, which is sexual wellness. And you're really allowing for your users to meet your users where you're at, which I think allows for a really nice opportunity for you to reinvent and have those different types of fun experiences on heavy matters like this one.
I'm definitely a let's not reinvent the wheel kind of girl. I think my team knows that because there's so many ways to do what you're doing really well without just like randomly trying things or like rehauling just for the sake of completely rehauling something. So I think there's always so much opportunity there, and it's a different kind of creativity of like making it work on so many different levels instead of just like a novelty thing. And this was a real learning in action moment for us. It was, again, the first of its kind, a lot more graphs than I think our edit team, our design team were used to, and really trying to learn as we go, but also blend the really graphic pieces and again like what we can tie together on social and what will perform and what people will find surprising here. But it was also like a proof point that we were trying new things and collaborating, and like there was a lot that went into this, and I think it looks so cool. And like even these carousels, which are like 2/3 of the way down the page and really far down on mobile, where a lot of our audience is, obviously, perform really well. People are scrolling through things, and I'm sort of an old school skeptic where like, no one's going to click through things. Like I'm always worried about that. And it's good that I have my team to balance me out sometimes, but they did. It worked, and people actually cared about the content, which I think, ties to its authenticity.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to kind of that data point of it later, but it's such an interesting call out where you're kind of going off of gut to be like, I think people will, but is it buried? Will they find it? When they do, you're like, oh, the aha moment of, okay, now how can we repurpose this for the next piece? One thing selfishly, even though that 30-hour delay was pretty wild, about this piece and the one that we show last, which is the mental health piece. The teaser into what was coming, and it's great to see them come to fruition, because I think these are the big kind of tentpole things that you've all anchored yourselves to this year, thinking about your content roadmap, but also ways that you've kind of created a turnkey solution of repurposing this data without having to reinvent the wheel each time, like you mentioned.
Exactly. It's like we're trying new things, but sometimes data like this, it resonates. Like when you actually read this, and everyone should, we have the link, there's definitely different, everyone picks out something else that you're like, wow, really? You really like start to internalize this, like, oh, this is how everyone's using contraception these days. Like, some questions, and then I think, obviously leads you to more relevant Her Campus content. But I think it's also just a nice way to get people to stop and listen to something that they might not if it's presented in a different way.
Absolutely. And there's so much noise in the industry now. And I think how you stand out and how you find a way to package up that content, data viz can be boring. And I think that really shows that it's exciting, the graphics, the design, it really speaks to the testament of how well-versed your design team is in the space, but also really thinking ahead of the curve of how they can be packaging up pie charts, not the sexiest type of content.
I mean, sometimes it works though. It's sometimes like pie charts have endured, I think, for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in those first two pieces, we really showcased how you all thrive on that innovation from vision boards, shoppable experiences. But I think a lot of people struggle on thinking about new ways to experiment with formats.
Mhm.
How has Saros helped enable you effectively execute on those ideas as you've kind of been in this role now for a year?
I think the fun thing about Saros, and I do come from a background where everything was very, very templatized. And
Yeah.
like, again, I do think there's a creativity to that, where you can make things look really different based off a template. But the idea with Saros is that we can we can play around a little bit and see what works. We're always making informed decisions. That's very important to me. But we can, like, okay, well, this might be a good chance to try this. And like I said, like some of um the placements of things, or just like, oh, this got a lot of clicks on this. Like, how can we reformat it for a completely different subject matter? Like
Yeah.
trend report here, which super fun.
I love this is probably my favorite experience that I've seen in a long time. And I'm not
I think
just
that's
saying
fair.
because we're on this.
No, I think that's fair. Pretty much almost everyone on her campus staff has reported buying something off this trend report. Like
Yeah, I'll
for
get to the
me,
next one and I'll tell you what I bought. I'm like, is this because I've been just looking at these experiences for
yes.
too long?
For me, I was obsessed with the idea of accessorizing your accessories. Like I
Yeah.
just cannot get over how much I love that. I've always been like a charm bracelet kind of girl, and like
Yep.
way before they were trendy, I swear. And now that we can like put that on our bags and our shoes and like our
Yeah.
like great.
And I
So
also think just the way you've showcased this trend report is so fun. It's kind of weaving in different types of formats. So you have kind of this desktop-esque experience, but it's also very retro almost. It's just a nice, beautiful piece of content that gets the point across and really finds a way to, like, this piece in itself, it's so easy, but it is so impactful.
we
Just
wanted,
to
yeah,
customize it.
we wanted something. I mean, huge shout out to Sumi, who's the designer for this piece, to go with the desktop, the computer, like all the different the folders, all this recognizable stuff, and having
Yeah.
it work really well. I mean, we're seeing the desktop version here, but having it work really well on mobile too. Um and uh making sure that it's still so recognizable and fun and different, and like feels feels cool for what we're actually the subject matter here. But
Yeah.
we wanted, I mean, a similar idea. We wanted something actionable, like you just experienced this and educated yourself on on this cool thing, on this cool topic. You're like, if you haven't bought something, you're thinking about buying something, to
Yep.
the point of literally everyone buying something. But we talked about having this vision board so you could decide what trends worked for you. I mean, again, to the personalizations, like not everything works for everybody.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I can pull off some of this stuff. So like what works for you, and what can you do with having just experienced everything that you just educated yourself on. So it's like what's going for your aesthetic, something aspirational,
Yep.
and then like the fun easy ways to make that happen. And that's why, building on even what Pinterest is doing with collages these days, just something that's like really fun to express your creativity, even if you don't feel like you can make a really aesthetic collage.
Yeah.
And I think
When
that is really a cool way to cycle through some of these things. Yeah, look at that bag charm. So
I
cute.
know the bag charm, I love a bag charm for
I
women.
know.
And when you're all thinking about these new types of formats, how does that process look for you all? Is it briefing? Is it pulling inspiration, mood boards before you get to the actual mood board, which is this piece of content?
For the design team, actually, I mean, a lot of teams collaborate and sort of throw out ideas.
Yeah.
But something that the design team has started doing, I think in 2025, that I've actually never done with any of the design teams I've been a part of before, is that when we are launching something big like this, even though there's a dedicated designer to this, what we're doing is everybody on the design team actually goes off and makes their own mood board about what aesthetically the content could look like. Like
Yep.
what's the vibe? What's the brand? What are we thinking for something like Trend Report, even though like this is on College Fashionista, one of our brands, and it's reflecting like those colors and fonts and things like that, like
Yeah.
they're still vibes. Right.
Yeah.
So we've been going through, and then just as a team, even if not everyone is working on this piece, sharing each of us puts together a mood board, and then we get to talk about it. And it's been really fun
Yeah.
and like a nice creative expression of things. And like we also have found, even though I think we're all very different people and I'm like a million years older than everybody else, um, and sometimes get accused of being like my taste being too millennial.
We love that.
Is that there are themes that you can see, like then the head designer really picks a aesthetic, some sort of through line or
Yeah.
what really makes sense. And it's just like it's been a fun collab, even though like do any of us need more meetings? No, but like this is when we have one of those, it's always my favorite. Like it's just
Yeah.
a fun expression.
Yeah. So not only is your audience kind of impacting what the content looks like, your total team is impacting it
Yeah.
because it's all kind of coming together to collaborate on what that ultimate outcome is. That's
And it's nice. It's like it speaks more, we're all bringing different context into
Yeah.
it. And like also, we all are interacting with our content and our audience in totally different ways. Like some of us are more tapped into our community, some are just like chronically online. Like there's a lot of different ways that we're bringing these pieces in. And actually, I have a segue for what's on the screen now is that this is the College Beauty Awards, the CBAs. It's a yearly her campus tentpole, but our main designer on this, Audrey, actually put this together. It's very like ethereal and like flowy and light and all of that. And then I think like a couple weeks after this launched, Pinterest started talking about how this like ethereal fairy aesthetic is going to be very in for the rest of the year. And I was like, we have our finger on the pulse point, just like we said. Yeah. But for this, it's like I'm a competitive analysis crazy person. Like I love seeing what everybody else is doing. Like I just constantly send links. And also then how we can do it differently, right? Like you see really good shoppable stuff out there all of the time. But what I like about our use here is like we're trying different on-site experiences based on the actual content and the responses that we get, right? And that's where Saros has been really helpful because like we can pivot, like the design team, the editorial team, all of that, we have an idea of what we want, but then again, this is content sourced from real people, from like from our actual audience. It's not influencers or beauty brands influencing the product picks. It's real people with real advice. And so that makes us be able to pivot, and have the experience actually reflect what we found.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I find with a lot of people who leverage Saros for their tentpole events, they'll kind of take this as the mainframe and reiterate on it year over year. And pivoting is exactly that. They'll say, we saw, and it was the Rhode Pocket Blush I bought, just as an FYI. They'll say, we saw a bunch of people clicking maybe the Sol de Janeiro body butter. We want to bring this back up to the top of the page just so we can encourage more clicks. So it's a lot of pivoting in real time based off of that data. And I think that is what leads to that authentic voice that you've all captured so well. Is what everyone is looking for in a Big Brother-esque way, but in a
non-creepy
content,
we're just listening to you
way.
Yes, I feel like it makes our content, to the authenticity point, like just more realistic. I think the stat for this one was that almost 2/3 of the winners were priced at $25 or less because that's what Gen Z is buying. It's not like it's not a fancy beauty influencer that's getting these things sent for free and then using it even though it's $120 for like this much. No, it is it's allowing us to connect a little bit better, and we want to make sure the on-site really emphasizes that too. And then you can see in this one, and I saw the little comment pop up about like I found vertical video on site is a design challenge that is not new, but very interesting. And we keep trying different things. And I love here that the actual video where the products, it's all shoppable right there. It's like, it's very easy. And that is something that you still can get on site versus on social, where it's like a single link can go from a story or things like that. So I like to, again, we want to tie these things together. The social of this was beautiful and really robust, but there's still stuff that you can do on site that you just can't control on a social platform.
And I think that's the cool thing too. I mean, even in the sexual wellness piece, you brought in a Spotify playlist, and this one you kind of have these TikTok style videos. So again, it's finding ways to blend different content formats to really increase that engagement, the way that people are maybe they don't want to buy something, but maybe they want to download that playlist or have that Spotify playlist playing in the background. So it's finding different ways to meet people in different aspects of the buying cycle or in the reading and engagement cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Just again, you get to choose the way you're engaging with the content and what content you're engaging with in the first place.
Yeah. And it is nice to have that flexibility too, to be able to kind of have that happen.
Yeah, we get to play a little bit more.
Get to play, which
yeah.
makes work so much more fun.
We
And
have fun with those things, you could tell.
Oh, you can definitely tell. I mean, when I tell you I love that college fashionista one, that's been my favorite in the past couple of months. So and I would say one thing that you all do so well is combining editorial and branded content. And we always say, I come from publishing myself. It was separation of church and state. We
Yes.
really play well in the sandbox together. But I'm interested to hear, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, having those collab sessions that aren't really like a boring briefing session. It's a mood board session, but other strategies have really helped kind of carve out such a nice competitive edge that you all have in such a saturated industry that's all fighting for the same type of eyeballs on content.
I have a deep history with branded content. Like I'm a nerd about it. And it's how I got my start as a designer. I love when publishers can like give a voice to content to make it seem really natural to our audience, even though it's sponsored. Like it's just something that I have been looking at and seeing the change at for a really long time. And our team is so good at this. And this is such a good example. I have talked about this a lot in a lot of different formats, but our branded content team, it's just the designers, some of our favorite partners, right? They're legitimately geniuses. Like this Microsoft example is so good. It's so funny, so approachable. It takes this like big scary AI topic, obviously the hot thing right now, and it breaks it down, but also makes it fun, right? Like this is educating yourself on AI like you're educating, like it's a sex education class. And that is like you're not seeing that anywhere else, and that's why it's fun, right? Like even this where it like the design of it like very invokes all this, the technical, mechanical, computer, all of that, but it's still like really fun, bright colors. Like it's still, it knows what the content is, and it's having fun, right? And I feel like we do that. I mean, besides branded content being amazing, unicorn geniuses is usually what I say. Is we do that by staying audience first. Again, like we're very in touch, even when our branded team can't stay 100% on top of every single new trend, although they know a lot more than I say this job like keeps me very in touch with things. I know so much about Sabrina Carpenter, guys. But even when they can't stay on top of every new meme and like there's so much cross collaboration within HCM, within the community and the access, like the touch points that we have there. And like as you referenced, because we talked about it for picking a fun song for this, it's like we have a pulse check Slack channel where it's just like, hey, is this still cool? Like, is this still a thing that people are saying? Is this still a thing that will hit, that will resonate?
Yeah. Will it get eye rolls if I do this or
and like they want to make sure that that's happening, because not everyone can be on top of every single trend, no matter how young you are, right? And so I love that, is that they want to make sure that what they're putting out makes sense for our audience. Obviously, for a collaboration like this with Microsoft was thrilled to be reaching that kind of audience. But
and that was going to be my next question too. I mean, how, of course, your audience, but how do you get your brands that you're working with and partnering with to see that vision too? How did you get Microsoft to do a Birds of the Bees style piece of content?
Well, again, I think I have to again credit our branded content team, because they're more and more involved in the pre-sale conversation every day, like just these first conversations with clients to make them understand like our point of view, who we are, and why it matters to reach this audience. And I think also just I've been on more than one call where it's been like, oh, well, this client wants this kind of video or something like that, or like this kind of expert. And it's like, guys, that's not going to move the needle. And I do think, as you said, company's been around for a while. I think we've gotten a good amount of trust and things in the industry. And they really see the deeply engaged audience that we have. And I think that's that's why it works. You know, the team is really prioritizing that and the authenticity over everything else. And that's again why I love a good brand partnership when it's good, which
When it's
again,
good.
this is a good example of, because it's like, well, yeah, that was fun. Great. Like
Yeah.
I think this
Performed
works
great
for
too.
everybody.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
always helps. It helps
Yeah.
when you then have the data to kind of back it up too.
Yeah.
But I think it really does kind of showcase just not only are you thought leaders amongst your audience, but thought leaders amongst the brands too, by finding ways that they can get in front of an audience that necessarily is a struggle for them because they don't know how to get down to that level of meeting them where they're at, because you have a finger on the pulse, you're meeting with the teams, you have so much of a community around your brand around her campus that really allows for you to get that authentic viewpoint. And I know we've touched on this many times in this presentation, but data-driven insights, talk to me about how that guides your content creation. Trend reports, like I mentioned, we were teasing those at Digiday, and now because of American Airlines, which is okay, we had a great time in the Pittsburgh airport.
Yeah, we know a lot. Yeah.
We loved every moment of that 30-hour play. But how do you use these insights to refine your content strategy year over year? You've been a client of ours for 7 years. If we look at kind of that first Bed Bath and Beyond piece you all put together to kind of where you are now with this beautiful piece, talk to me about how you're leveraging years of data to start to create pieces like this.
I mean, yes, we're learning a lot. And I said that even from, you know, some of the pieces that we saw here with the It List and getting down with Gen Z to now in June, we've learned a lot. So you can imagine the years later and on top of that. And I think, you know, we learn day to day on just how to create. I think the great thing about the design team is, and honestly, the product team, the branded team, is everyone always wants to learn, right?
Yeah.
Like I think everyone is super open to that. And I always say for myself, like I'm never going to be a person, and I do think it's the design background that's like, ooh, I don't care about learning this new program or anything like that. Like I look at that kind of stuff, and again, the designer in me been like, oh, I could try that. We could make that work. But I think we also just keep learning from our audience too. It's like we have these big broad topics, and sometimes we do social listening, and like I'm constantly kind of like elbowing the our social team, being like, hey, I know you asked this open-ended question about like, you know, this new policy coming from the government or something like that. Like, what's the vibe? Like, what are we thinking? But I think we also learn a lot from survey data like this too. It's like we had already identified on something earlier than the It List about like mental health is really important as a topic right now, which great. It's also it's also just really helpful to work on things like this when you're like, yeah, we should be talking about this. Just as a society, we can all feel good about having this conversation. That honestly helps. But when you believe in these things, but like for example, something I keep thinking about with just checking in, which super fun name. Shout out to the other team. It's a meaningful place right here for Gen Z to feel seen, supported, all of that. But the one that I keep thinking about was we ask about what social media is best and worst for your mental health. And it's, I saw that Pinterest is the most positive impact on people's mental health. And it's like, oh yeah, like you really have to stop and think about that for yourself. And like, it has totally made me rethink how I prioritize my social content, like how I actually consume it now, just in my real life, and like have now set some time limits on some of my social media and all of that. And I think that's very cool. And then I think, you know, just to try to, again, keep this is a heavy topic, but this page is beautiful. Shout out to Audrey. Same designer as the It List. And it's beautiful, and it's a different experience than getting down with Gen Z because it's a different topic, right? It is we're getting insights in a similar way, but this was totally considered in a different like different pattern than everything else. And like you can see in this slide here, it's like the coloring book, which we have in the middle, positioned as a brain break.
Yeah, which I love.
It totally exemplifies this approach. Like again, this is in the middle. It's like this is when we needed something like this instead of something like the trend report, where it was like, we need something actionable at the end. It's like, no, where you know you're going through a lot here. Maybe
take a moment to color in this little sun.
Moment of levity for sure. It's obviously the most clicked item on the page, like
Of course.
far
Yeah,
and
how could you
away.
not? I mean,
Yeah.
it begs to be clicked, I feel.
Yes. And I've like seen other people sharing their screen or watched other people interact with it. And even when we're having conversations, people are like just mindlessly clicking through because it's so beautiful. I love that it's not just solid colors, it's gradients, like it really feels more like you can breathe.
Yeah.
And it's such a, it's a bright spot here. And that's like we're really seeing how people keep clicking through it. One of my favorite compliments is always like, oh, that came right when I needed it.
Yep.
Or like, that's the most time I've spent on a site in a while. Or like when people are like, do you want to see how I colored my son? And also
Yeah.
it took me forever to decide on the color combination for my son. Like
And it really allows again for that like organic social promotion to it
yes.
as well, where people are sharing what they've done. And I
Yes.
think the interesting thing too with this piece, I mean, there's of course CTAs throughout, but there's no real action for someone to take other than learning and then decompressing at the end. And it does kind of just showcase the flexibility of what you've all been doing, but taking the learnings from getting down with Gen Z and kind of applying it here, which
You can
is
so see these things now, like
yeah,
put them
side by
they're
side. They're very
vaguely,
different. One is
yeah.
very rock and roll, and this one is very fun and fun but heavy. But
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting to see just kind of how you filled in the stats and made it feel more organic to the topic versus getting down with Gen Z.
And it really is such a like cross-functional. This is I mean, not to be cheesy, a big team effort. Like we
Yeah.
all have feelings about this. We've spent a long time with, this page up and like figuring out, with the editors about how exactly this story is being told, how design can support that as much as possible. We bring
Yeah.
product in to make sure that it's like, does this make sense as a user experience? Are we all too close to this? Like all of that. And I think that's a great opportunity. And then, when we have something like Microsoft in the last example, it's like we want our clients to still feel really supported and it
Yeah.
feel natural, but making sure that is really, yeah, collaborative. It's always my favorite word, and I know it's like a funny buzzword, but it's real, and
Yeah.
that's why I'm constantly like, team effort, team blood, sweat, and tears, like
Yeah.
everything went, and I think that's become very obvious also when you start scrolling through these things, to your point about like you can tell we all had fun on Trend Report, like
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're at the end of the presentation now. We did it in under 45 minutes, which I'm very proud of us.
Look at us.
Look at us go. But for any final thoughts from your side, Jersey, if not, we can open up the floor to some Q&A. I think, Liana, you've been kind of managing that.
I think that it's been fun to talk about this, like because I do think so much what I have been saying about how thoughtful we are, but also the opportunity that our audience is really just really directly impacting, curating, we're basically co-creating this content with them.
Yeah.
And I think that is so our differentiator. And again, it's a pretty easy thing to get behind. We're trying to represent real people as creatively and engaging as possible.
Yeah. And I think for us, the really cool thing again is to just kind of see the life cycle that you've all had over the last few years, but seeing how you've really pushed the boundaries of what you can create in Saros. We always say her campus will send your examples internally, and I'm sure Leon can attest to that too. I think it really just kind of showcases how far you've all pushed the platform and kind of conformed it into what makes sense for you all while still remaining relevant in innovation, like having that coloring book experience. I mean, it's something that's so low lift, but so impactful for someone to want to click through it. So it's been really fun to just kind of see the content you've created over the last few years. So I'm really happy you sat down with us to do this because I love talking about your content. Internally, we love talking about it, but now we get to kind of elevate it to the next level. Awesome.
Okay.
So Leon, I'll kick it to you for the Q&A.
Absolutely. And just reiterating what you said, Kristen, Jersey, we love these experiences. And is in Gen Z, I can speak for all of us that these experiences are so engaging. We love, experiences that catch our attention, especially the trendy ones, because our eyes are always going there. So I also just love going through all of her campus experiences.
We love our, we've actually just talked about it recently internally. It's like we love our Saros hype people. It's been so helpful. And yes, while we were stuck in the airport, I know that you showed me a couple times of like, oh, well, look how we're, talking on Slack about this cool thing you guys published. I'll take that. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, we really saw our authentic selves in that airport.
Oh yeah, you don't become the best version of yourself.
You're not the best version of yourself after you've been delayed and having to fly with no navigation, but here we are.
Landed the plane without navigation. I feel like we're all, as a society, not talking about that happening enough, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was a crazy time.
Another trend too, just everything going on with flying and traveling and
I know.
Mhm. Yeah, we live to tell the tale, but we have a little bit of PTSD.
No, it's fine. That's how you trauma bond. It's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great, Leon, I'll kick it on over to you for the questions.
Oh, we do have some great questions here. One is from Tori, and she asked, what kind of pitches would you like to get from PR pros?
I think that sometimes her campus does a lot that people don't really understand. Honestly, I still have trouble with my elevator pitch of what her campus does. And it's because we do so much, and I think we're really trying to connect with people on so many different lifestyle cycles. So I feel like we try to work with partners that really seem like they understand us or like have really seen the different things we've tried over the years, or just the different aspects of her campus and how we connect. And I think that fundamental understanding seems like a small thing, but actually is really important. And it's the best way to connect, I think, with people at HCM. And I've seen that a lot with our experiential offerings as well. We have a big event. That's my unexpected hype. We have a big event next week in New York. It's called Her Conference, herconference.com. Go look it up. But it's a fun way to like meet people and really see how they understand her campus, and then how they feel like they can help, how they can get involved, any of that. And I think that is it's seemingly small, like, oh, make sure you understand the business, but it sometimes when there's, people are really multifaceted, and I think that can't be undervalued.
Absolutely. I love that. Another question here is, for publishers who are hesitant to lean into interactive for editorial, what recommendations would you have?
Oh, I mean, this I feel like I could talk about for another 40 minutes. But it's so interesting and so important, because you see it more and more these days. It's like you need something else, especially people are, not reading articles anymore the way they used to. I mean, bigger topic, but not reading articles the way they used to, not reading the way they used to. I think that these, even to the point of like how satisfying gamification is, like when we talked about earlier, it's like these small things where it seems so little or easy to skip, but like, hey, this thing is on the page and it flips and it's little, it's I like low lift, big returns kind of thing. Like there's a lot of satisfaction to that. And I do think there's so many even small interactive pieces that support so many different kinds of content. Like I'm always a thought starters kind of person, and like, oh, taking something as, I mean, my teams are going to roll their eyes, but like as like flip cards where it's like there's something on the front, something on the back. It's so scalable. There's so much you can do with that, and like any kind of content that you can support. Like I have made so many training docs on this over my years of like it's before and after. It's mapping to personality types, something that I definitely know is you always get high engagement on when you are trying to tell somebody their personality type, right? Like that is like the OG BuzzFeed thing, but you can do it in such elegant ways now.
Yeah.
It's like there's just so many different ways to support content that I feel like you need a little bit more, and it doesn't detract from it. And again, it can be very serious information, but it really makes it seem more human. Like there's a very easy traction to that as people trying to engage with your content.
Yeah. One thing we always recommend too is starting small with edit, doing pull quotes, doing something that is so low lift, but has a really big impact.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel. I know a lot of the experiences we showed today were huge, big, full bleed experiences, but it could be something as tiny as just pulling something out and putting a fade in animation on it and calling it.
1000%. Yeah. I think that is really easy. You can, I mean, again, something I'm always saying is like, let's scale up or we can scale down. Like, I want to make sure that we can stay agile and like, let's figure out if I want to support the content. And that's something I always say on the sales side of things, like pre-sales and all of that. And again, historically, that's where I came from, is I don't want to sell, when we're talking about these like on-site experiences, I don't want to sell specific interactions to the client. I want to sell a story and what your, the ideas that you're trying to get across. And then on once that's decided on the like actual execution side, it's like, okay, what interaction, what engagement supports that story the best, right? It's all about supporting the storytelling instead of trying to like shoehorn something in because like, oh, this person thought it was cool.
Yeah.
It's like, no, these are really strategic in the way that they can support your story.
Yeah. It's great advice.
That, yeah, fitting in like where the interaction, like exactly like you said, helps the storyline instead of just throwing it in to throw it in.
Yes. Yeah. It drives me crazy.
We always say, and Liana can attest to it, animate with purpose. Not everything needs to be flying in off the screen.
Yes. Yeah, that's definitely one of those things I'd love like tattooed on my forehead at this point. It's like, I just want to make sure, like, let's make purposeful choices because it relates so much more.
Yep.
Yes, I think that is like the make sure that you're just supporting your storytelling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Another question here is, do you have any best practices on workflows with sales to share?
I mean, again, that's a specialty of mine. But like I said, I have sort of a hybrid background, really started in design. And so that is, at the end of the day, I've done a lot of different things, but it's like, it's where my brain is. Like I think I always say it's a skill you don't lose. I'm also just like a very visual, learner, but also sharer. Like I just think that you are, especially with people like that are work in sales, that you are always better off to have something like, even if it's just words on the page instead of an image or a design or whatever, what have you. It's like you are always in a better shape if you're all looking at the exact same thing. So I think that is my first piece of advice there is like, let's make sure that even though you're using the same words, you might not be talking about the same thing. So again, I'm a big like make a beautiful deck kind of person. Like that is it's my work love language. Like let's make something so that we all have a complete source of truths. It can still be living, breathing document, but like let's have something that we're all looking at together. And I think that's really important from the like more creative side of you, right? Like my teams at her campus are product design and engineering. So it's like the creative teams. I always say the creative problem solving teams, but working with teams that aren't quite as visual, even, with great partners like editorial or a branded team, right? But especially obviously with sales, let's make sure that we are illustrating our ideas as clearly as possible and getting something on the page. And I'm always the first to like, let me sketch some. I used to do like actual sketch when we were in person, but like, let me just throw something up on the screen, or like, let me find, again, to my competitive example, let me find a different example of like, here's what, this publisher did, but we could do it better. We could do it in our own voice or something like that. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice. But it's design is where I come from historically, but so is branded. So it's always going to be like the supporting sales nature to me. But that's why I think it's so important to have such a strong executional team, and like our post-sale team and all that. So great and so supportive. And like they also want to find the best solution for both like our users and our clients. So I think also remembering we're on the same team, also very important.
Have you all ever done, out of curiosity, any type of interactive proof of concept for, say, like a big advertiser, someone you haven't worked with before?
Great question. That is something I've done a lot more at other publishers. I think her campus, I think, has such a, as you know, a deep well
Yeah.
of examples for things that we have done in the last few years that like we are constantly, I love a link. Like let's just again a visual example that we could all be looking at the same thing. Like we show a lot of like, look what we did for this person. Here's how it could come to life for you. Like I do think there's a deep understanding there. On the pre-sale side, I think we're honestly still experimenting at her campus about what is the most effective, like what hits nowadays, honestly, for moving the needle on pre-sale. Because, you know, some clients are really big, have really big imaginations and others don't. So I like to do things case by case. But it's definitely, I threw together something last week from some of our sales experiences because we're sort of parallel pathing something that we're trying to sell, but we're also actually executing right now is like, here's some cool things, like just to get people, like I always call it like my hype decks, like just to get the hype for certain things off. So like you can still see, even if I don't necessarily always trust people with links, it's like, here's the screen recording, there's this, to really show people like what we're thinking in real time. So it definitely happens, but it's not the most formalized thing. I think we have to stay on our toes, especially with the changing. There's a lot, you know, a lot of things are changing and different from, you know, our original publishing days.
Yeah, no, I feel that 100%. This industry shows that things are ever changing. And I think you've all shown kind of in the way that your content has come to life over the last few years, just how you're evolving with those changes and adapting. But it's definitely being agile, being nimble, thinking on your feet, and adjusting for whoever it is that you're presenting to or pitching to.
Yeah, you have to know your audience, right? And that's actually why I've always liked the sales side of things is like, you gotta kind of be hacky. And like, I like that. Like there's something that keeps you on your toes. I know that I can't spend too long thinking about, if you're not supporting sales, you can sometimes way overthink things. Whereas with sales, I love that this is the amount of time you have. That's it.
Another 3 weeks. Thanks.
Yeah. That's it. And we're going to make what works. And like, we still see that in some of our, like, you know, obviously these service experiences that we make for clients, you know, they can be really robust and there's a lot there, but there's a due date. Like there's no pushing the due date. So it's like
there's a launch date.
What works here? Yeah. And I think it's good that I started that way instead of the like, well, we have the luxury of time, like, because I never think that way anymore.
Yeah. It's nice to feel your feet against the fire. It makes you work faster, breathes more creativity, I think.
I know. It's probably not like the healthiest quality in the world, but I like it. It keeps you motivated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, Jersey, we really appreciate you joining us today. Like I mentioned, this has been a long time coming, but you have all been such amazing partners of ours, and it's been really fun to pick your brain. And I hope for those who joined, you learned a couple of things and got inspired by the beautiful pieces of content that the Her Campus team has created. But we really do appreciate you carving out an hour. Everyone who's on the call, Jersey, for you, it's been multiple hours spent with me.
So worth it.
Lucky for you. But thank you all so much. And like we mentioned, we'll be sharing all of these assets after the webinar today. So definitely check your inboxes. There's links to all of the content clicked out there. And there's also links to connect with Jersey on LinkedIn if you want to pick her brain a little bit more.
I can clearly keep talking. So
yeah, I mean, that's for what it's worth. We originally had 10 minutes. So the fact that
I can't even
hour, it would have been a nightmare.
No, they would have just like been pulling us off the stage. Like
would have literally gotten a cane to pull us off the stage.
Yeah. That's fine.
But thank you all so much for joining. Jersey, thank you again. And Liana, thank you for organizing.
Thanks so much.